Alright, let's stop with the fake Halo music to prevent some copyright issues, but hey, I'd like to introduce you to Yeah, so this is kind of getting out of hand, but I felt like this was a decent option. A, because when I edit, doing the whole thing with the board on an angle and, you know, even from a still image like I do sometimes, or even to my phone, whenever there's anything at an angle and I tilt it like that in editing, it kills the render times. It almost triples the render time in a lot of scenarios, if not doing over triple, which is insane. So at a 20-minute video, that's usually an hour or more to render that video, which is really, really rough, but this should alleviate a lot of that. And it actually should make these boards a tad bit bigger and kind of easier for you guys to see. They're not at an angle so bad, so hopefully it does help. The one thing that is kind of crappy is that these lights aren't quite bright enough. And if you guys remember back in the day, I used to have a nice little glare on my whiteboard. Shout out to you if you're still here after watching from the glare days. Let me know down in the comments if you're still here, because hey, glad you stuck around. But anyways, I've already recorded this video once with the mic off the entire time, so I feel like an idiot, but hey, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna make sure that I get it right this time. So today we're actually gonna be going over two specific Pokemon, putting them head to head to try to figure out which one is actually better. So today we're actually gonna be looking at Alolan Golem and Alolan Graveler. And both of these Pokemon are very, very similar in a lot of ways, but I tried to give them a little bit of uniqueness as much as I could, I guess, but also trying to keep them extremely similar to figure out which one actually performs better at that specific role. So, quick review of these two Pokemon. Maxing out at 29.49 at level 40 with 15s across the board, Alolan Golem is a big boy. Alolan Graveler, though, maxing out at 1897, definitely does fit the bill closer for PvP. Now, what that actually ends up translating to is Alolan Graveler actually having more bulk and more stat product than Alolan Golem. To be exact, we have a 5% more bulk and a 2.5% more stat product inside of Alolan Graveler than we would inside of Alolan Golem. So, what that actually says is that in some scenarios where bulk and stat product matter a little bit more, which we will see and I'll try to point that out, Alolan Graveler actually can do better. And basically, once we get down into the nitty-gritty of this, we'll start to see that these movesets are what really sets these two apart. So we do have Rock Throw and Rock Blast on both Pokemon here, while Alolan Golem actually has Wild Charge and Alolan Graveler actually has Thunderbolt. And definitely, you're gonna see that Thunderbolt is the Achilles heel of Alolan Graveler compared to this Wild Charge with Alolan Golem. So let's actually get into some numbers here. So I'm gonna try to put all of our information for Golem on this side while we're putting all of our information for Graveler over here. So we do have our shield scenarios up against the 22 meta Pokemon. So we do have a 0 versus 0, which is actually where I don't have any shields, my opponent doesn't have any shields. We actually end up winning 45.5% of those with Alolan Golem and 40.9% with Alolan Graveler. Then in our 2 versus 0, we actually end up with a 86.4 for Alolan Golem with an 81.8 for Alolan Graveler. Then in the 0 versus 2, we actually have 27.3 while we have a 27.3 as well, which is actually good for Alolan Graveler there. That actually means that we're tying up against our counterpart with Alolan Golem. Then our last shield scenario is the 2 versus 2, which is a 59.1 for Alolan Golem with a 50 flat basically on Alolan Graveler there. Alolan Golem clearly performs better than the Alolan Graveler. And the one time that it doesn't perform better, it's actually tied for the top spot. That's actually saying a lot for Alolan Golem here, while Alolan Graveler, not quite as much. Just for the sake of doing it, I did actually do against the entire cup, just to kind of see how that goes. Once we bring up our numbers for these two Pokemon, we'll focus more on the meta since that makes a little bit more sense, but basically, in the 0 versus 0 against the entire Jungle Cup, we actually have a 58.2 for Alolan Golem and a 52.2 for Alolan Graveler. So definitely end up gonna give this point to our Alolan Golem here. Then in the 2 versus 0, we actually have an 83.6 versus the 79.9. So definitely giving it there. Now in the 0 versus 2, this is the one that I was talking about where it actually starts to show that stat, product, and bulk actually can make up a little bit of ground here. Because when we don't have any shields, we're relying basically more on our bulk than anything to protect us. And it really shows because Alolan Golem here only wins 23.9 while Alolan Graveler actually has 25.4. So you can see it kind of does start to help out there. Then in our last shield scenario, the 2 versus 2, we actually have the 64.9 versus the 62.7. So out of those, Alolan Golem is actually just clearly better. I still think that Alolan Golem is going to take a little bit more of the cake there. So switching over to PvPoke, we are going to still stick our Golem graphic up over here while we're actually going to show his stats here. Please just understand we're showing Alolan Golem with Alolan Golem stats. Makes sense? Alright. We do have our Alolan Golem here built with Rock Throw, Rock Blast, and Wild Charge, just like we said. We are going to give ourselves 1 shield while also giving our opponent 1 shield. We're actually going to do a custom group, quick fill it with a Jungle Cup meta there, which are the 22 meta picks that PvPoke has designed for us there. Then we do see that we do have that 10 wins with a 45.5, and then we actually have 10 losses and 2 draws. So let's actually take a look at these. So we do have a lot of the bugs and a lot of the flying types here at the top, which does make some sense considering that both of those are going to be weak to the rock type moves. So Masquerain, Scyther, Pidgeot, Beedrill, Noctowl, Vespiquen, Venomoth, Fortress, and then we get into our opposing Graveler here. Then we do have Scizor, and then we start to tie up against ourselves. We also do have that tie up against Magnezone though, which I guess does make some sense considering that it is going to be able to carry some flash cannon action. It's going to be able to use that steel type move to really get underneath our skin. Then we do have Raichu, Magneton, Venusaur, Cradily, Vigoroth, Heracross, Lantern. And then you can see the big deal is Victreebel, Breloom, and Ivysaur are going to be the hardest ones. Now, Victreebel and Ivysaur specifically here are the things that I think you should really be looking out for. In the overall Jungle Cup, a lot of the Pokemon that both Graveler and Golem end up losing to are the Razor Leaf users. Their insane amount of damage plus exploiting a weakness that we have puts them at the top of the list of hardest counters. So it's no surprise that we see Victreebel and Ivysaur here with Razor Leaf doing a big number of damage to us. But just for what it's worth, if Ivysaur actually runs with Fine Whip, like, you know, I like to play with Ivysaur there, it still does win. It's just not as hardcore of a win. So next we're actually going to go over our Alolan Graveler. Here again, our Graveler graphic is going to be here on the right while we're showing his stats here up on the left. And as you can imagine, we're going to run the same exact thing. Rock Throw, Thunderbolt, Rock Blast as we talked about earlier. 1 shield for us, 1 shield for the opponent up against the 22 meta Pokemon there. Going to hit battle, and as you can see, we do have 9 wins at a 40.9 just like we talked about earlier. 11 losses and 2 draws. Okay, so a lot of these are going to be very, very similar. Let's actually look at Masquerain, Scyther, Pidgeot, Beedrill, Vespiquen, Venomoth, Noctowl, Fortress, Scizor, all there. Again, we do tie up against ourselves. Now, interestingly though, we actually lose to the Magnezone. Remember that we talked about the Magnezone was actually a problem for us. We actually end up losing that even though it does have Flash Cannon there. Magneton is actually the one that we tie up against this time. Then we do have the loss up against ourselves, Raichu, Heracross there, a big one, Venusaur, Cradily, Vigoroth, Lantern, and again here at the bottom, Victreebel, Breloom, and Ivysaur. So, as you can kind of see, they're both roughly the exact same in terms of matchups. It's just that Alolan Golem can actually beat Alolan Graveler. And I think that's kind of what I would want you to take away from this video. Both of these Pokemon are extremely similar when it comes to their matchups. Both of these Pokemon run extremely similar in the meta. The deal between the two of them is that Golem is probably going to be cheaper to get, whereas Graveler is going to be a little bit more expensive. Golem is actually going to beat that Graveler in a 1v1, while Graveler actually having a little bit more bulk could help you in some obscure matchup, like against a random non-meta type Pokemon. But in general, I definitely think Alolan Golem takes the cake here. I definitely think that Alolan Golem is the way to go if you're having discrepancies between the two. If you already have one, go for it. If you already have one powered up from a previous cup or anything like that, I mean, go for it, because they're just fine. They're literally almost identical in performance, except Alolan Golem does have a couple of bit more matches up its sleeve than Alolan Graveler. So that is actually going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think of the new setup. Besides the lighting, yes, I will fix the lighting, I promise, but it's going to take me a bit. If you guys don't like it and you just completely hate it, I guess I can switch it back. I just feel like hopefully this will help it be more readable, be more legible. Hopefully it helps a lot more than it hurts. But anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you can do that. But if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below. And until our next video, I will catch you then.